Without Limits here, and we're joined by a guest. Yeah, we don't get those
Hey,
many.
hey guys, this is Richie here from the Richie Plays channel. For those of you watching this on my channel, we are here with Redstone Without Limits from, you guessed it, the Redstone Without Limits channel. And today we're going to be showing you some redstone that we think everybody should know. We're going from very basic transmission methods to some cool, fairly complicated circuits that I use quite often. And we're starting with very basic downward redstone.
Yes. So, this is one of the most, logical ways of doing it.
And just redstone straight all the way down. It's pretty fast, it's pretty simple, but it does take up a little bit of space. So if you are taking up just a bit too much space, you can use a piston with a bunch of slime on it, with a piston, or a redstone block. That is not a piston right there. And if you flick the lever, it'll just power anything near or around it. Now this is a problem because it does like to pull blocks around it, but you can fix that by putting some furnaces near it on your redstone builds.
Yes. This one's a little bit slower, but, it gets the job done. Just depends on what kind of situation you're working in.
Yeah, just redstone with a torch on it.
One tick per 2 blocks down. It's a little bit expensive on the tick rate, but, it works.
So our next section right here is the opposite of downward redstone, upward redstone. And our methods are pretty much the same. Of course, the simplest way to do it is just a spiral of redstone going up.
Yes, and then we have vertical torches. That's been done before. This one, I really like this method because it's quick and it's compact. So it will go up, and then whenever you start to need a repeater, then you just put a repeater on there. But then this also acts as a diode, so it won't go back down, which is somewhat of a downside.
But it can also be very useful because it can replace a repeater or something in your redstone circuit. So, I mean, it depends on how you implement it. And this, I use this for most of my upward redstone in builds.
Yes.
Now, our next section right here is just transmitting redstone forward. When you run out of current, you gotta carry it on some way, and we have a few ways to help you do that. The first is obvious, it's just a repeater, and while it works well and solidly and is used most of the time, it is a little bit slow.
This is a little bit of an older method. It was used in the alpha days, but it is 2 ticks because there's 2 redstone torches, but it will repeat the signal.
Yeah, it's basically a logical replacement for the repeater. Of course, you don't have time control, but it just adds 2 ticks to your pulse. And this thing we have in the center it's a little bit quirky, but it gets the job done. It sends out a 1 tick pulse. And basically what happens here is this block gets bud updated, and whenever you update this block, it's going to activate and send a very quick pulse down this way. Interestingly enough, it also works as a T flip-flop because the pulse is so fast. But, yeah, so that's transmission.
It's also instant. So, that's cool. These are T flip-flops, all of these, and we're going to explain this one. This is probably one of the most simple ones.
Yeah.
It's all there, you can see it.
Yeah, we just have a monostable circuit right here going into a piston into a redstone block. And I mean, the point of a T flip-flop is just to have a signal that turns on and off. So we activate it once. Let's say we have redstone right here, it turns on. We activate it again, and it turns off. And basically the way we're doing this is sending a pulse so fast through this piston that it doesn't really have time to retract the block.
Yes, so it's just toggling. That's a good word for it. This one's kind of the same idea, but it's hopper based. So hoppers, they take 1 tick to transfer. So we just have a signal that flashes 1 tick, or turns off for 1 tick. So the item will transfer back. So there's an item in here, and it'll just kind of flip around. Hence the
Yeah.
flip-flop.
And when we activate this, boom on, we activate it again, boom off. And just like on this side right here, we're starting it with a 1-tick monostable. Our last piece right here, he can probably explain better than I, but it's a logical T flip-flop that uses only redstone, repeaters, comparators, and that one torch right there to transmit a signal on and off. So if we hit it once, it turns on, and again, it turns off.
So the basic principle behind this is it's detecting whether there's a signal being put out, and if there is, then it will let this signal through, and it's just saving it in there. Hope that makes sense. We have a few different methods of D flip-flops. So the first one is kind of the one that a lot of people know of. So if you have the signal on, then it will save that as on. If you have this one and you press the button, it'll save the signal as on. But this one's a little bit better in some cases, so just kind of know your limitations. This one's a little bit more interesting because of the fact that it will save the exact signal that was put into there. So it will save whatever that signal was set to.
Yeah, and the basic point of these D flip-flops is just to save information, usually as either on or off, in this case as a signal strength. And this pops up more during advanced redstone, like Redstone Without Limits. He likes to build computers. If you look around this world, there's some crazy stuff, and I don't really get into that this much, but this becomes very, very important in logical redstone.
So the computer just needs to save and then also alter information. So it's going to have a lot of those. So this is a RS latch using droppers.
Basically, we have an item right here. If we say want to activate this side, and it's easier to treat this as an on or off situation, but if we want to activate one side, we activate the opposite button right here. But if we wanted to bring the signal back, we couldn't do it from this side. We'd have to do it from the other one. And a more simple logical one is right here.
So if you press this one, it'll turn that on. If you press this one, it'll turn that one off, but this one on. It kind of just flips it around. This one gets a little bit more complex. This is a way of selecting an output.
Yeah, and this is just more advanced redstone. Over here we have some more circuits that it just should be known. And this was designed by Generic B. I've featured it once before. But basically we have this layout right here, and we build a bunch of them. And we have a certain signal. This signal gets selected by this machine. You can tell where it is because that's where the piston drops. And then if we press this button up here, it sends a 1-tick pulse through right here, and your output would be there. And this comes up a lot in survival redstone, especially with this little item frame thing I'm doing. Basically, the way the item frame is tilted determines how much signal strength there is. So theoretically, if I wanted to, I could have like a bunch of destinations right here, and I could have a railway system that would take me to a destination depending on where this thing was pointing.
Yes. And I could use it for computing as a input panel. But yeah.
Our next system right here is probably the most famous circuit in Minecraft. The standard Etho hopper clock. The way this works, let's just unactivate this so it turns on. There are a certain amount of items in these hoppers. They flow back and forth. And when it completely empties on one side, the piston switches because this signal has gone down, and this piece of redstone moves over. And then it moves back over once the other side is drained, and it keeps doing that. And basically, this is a very slow method of transferring pulses. So if you want to pulse, say, every minute, you use something like this. And the more items you have in it, the slower the pulse becomes.
Yes, and this is a standard pulse generator, so it will generate one pulse or one tick pulse.
And it's just whatever pulse it is dependent on how this is set. But the idea is this piece of redstone essentially activates the piston at the same time it goes through this block to activate the repeater, so the pulse gets cut off
Yes.
essentially around as soon as it begins.
So these are some logic gates using just comparators. This is the AND. If both of them are on, then you get an output. This is the XOR. If only one of them is on, then you get an output. So that's pretty self-explanatory. This is the NOT gate. It just gives you whatever the signal isn't. So it's not the signal.
And that's just about all the circuits we have for you guys. I hope you liked this video. I hope you got a little bit out of it, and I hope that you learned something, even if you're in the more advanced redstone community, because these, you're not going to use all of them all the time, but you're going to end up using them sometime. Like, in terms of downward redstone, why do we have 3 methods for downward redstone? Because depending on your circuit, what space you have, what your timing needs are, that's going to determine what you use. So it's always good to have more redstone in your arsenal.
Yes, but yeah, this is the end of this video. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, and I will put a link to his channel in there. And if you want to see
I will
more,
put a link to your channel
yeah, if you
in the
want to see
description
more, then go
as
ahead
well.
and subscribe. Me doing a 128 subscriber special. But yeah, so I'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.